All right. Hello, hello, hello. Once again to the Amplifying Ideas broadcast. Let me see where we're at here. So it is 1 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to get started. As you can see, we are once again broadcasting live from the Scholastic Education Studio here in my dining room. Welcome to our nationwide Amplifying Ideas series, where we interview incredible educators from across the country to learn about what they're focusing on and the strategies they're using to engage and support their students and their fellow teachers. My name is Sean Campbell, and I'm the Digital Resources Manager for Scholastic Education. And I'd like to start by thanking everyone for joining us and just thanking you in general. I can't imagine what the last few months have been like for everybody out there, and especially our educators who are there for our kids. Just know that we love you and really appreciate everything you've been doing. So now a little bit of housekeeping. Remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can follow me at Campbell Online. Let's see if I can find it here, right there, on Twitter. And that will keep you up to date on our guests and our show times. And the Amplifying Ideas series in general. So without further ado, I would like to introduce a wonderful educator and just an all-around amazing person, Andrea LaPointe. For the past 13 years, Andrea has worked in the Surrey School District as a teacher librarian. Her current role as teacher librarian helping teacher uniquely positions her to support the 150 Surrey teacher librarians and share her passions, inquiry-based learning, and digital resources with anyone who will listen. When she is not working or reading, she is found hiking, paddleboarding, camping, and wine tasting. Oh, after my own heart. Follow her online at @LaPointe _, and I'll pop that up right now so you can see it. Don't forget the _. Hi, Andrea. How are you doing?
I'm well, Sean. Thanks for having me today. I'm so grateful for the invitation.
I'm so glad you joined us. Yeah, I love that last line that if you're not reading, you're paddleboarding or you're hiking. And I'm on the same page with all of those. And I noticed on your Twitter handle, it's you outdoors and some crashing waves in your banner. Do you have some go-to places that you would be willing to share with everybody?
Sure. Well, it's a little hard to paddleboard at this time of year. But when I do get to go, when it's a little bit warmer, I love to go to Wannock Lake. It's about a 40-minute drive from my home. And truth be told, it's really quite a calm lake. I just paddleboard out into the middle and lay on my board and relax and read. And sometimes I go with friends or take my kids, and my mom gets out there with me too on her kayak. And it's just a really peaceful place surrounded by some pretty beautiful scenery. But when I can't get out there, I love to hike. I've been hiking a lot of the trails in Golden Ears. There seems to be so many, and yeah, go with a variety of my friends, and yeah, it's all just so accessible from here. So
yeah, I love it. I used to live in North Van, both in Capilano and Lynn Valley. And while I don't miss the bridge traffic by any means, our ability to just hop out our back door and we were by these beautiful waterfalls, or you're kind of in the middle of the mountains in the forest, even though you can see downtown. I love the coast. I do miss it. It's so good.
Great. Yeah. You got to come visit again. It's a great place to live.
One day when they let me, I'll be back for sure. Yeah, so I want to kind of go back to March and April. Obviously, professionally, everything changes kind of overnight. And you guys came together and built something pretty incredible. And I've just wanted you to kind of walk everyone through, how you're feeling and what happened, because I think they could really benefit from this as well.
So, like back in March, you mean?
Yeah, March, April.
Yeah.
When everything kind of switched gears in a hurry.
Well, when we got the directive that we were going to be moving from like suspending in-class instruction and moving to an online instructional model, I also noticed that there was, of course, everyone was wondering how we were going to do this. Thankfully, in Surrey, we had already widely adopted the Office 365 platform and had a lot of our teachers using Teams for a variety of reasons. And so we just continue to build the capacity for teachers to be able to use that as an instructional platform to make that switch when we went back to instruction after spring break. But during that couple weeks of spring break too, in anticipation of that time, I started to notice specifically on Twitter that there was a lot of our educational partners like Scholastic offering digital resources for free to support teachers in this time of online learning. And I quickly became overwhelmed, even just with the amount of resources that were available to teachers to be using. And one of the really strong roles of a teacher librarian is to curate resources for quality instruction and for awesome learning. And so I just thought this was an opportunity for the teacher librarians in Surrey to curate the plethora of digital resources that were kind of popping up and put them in one place to really support teachers without them having to spend all the time hunting around and vetting things. So my colleagues are amazing. I just am so proud to work with them. And yeah, about 150 of us mobilized and searched high and low for what we felt were the best digital resources. And my colleague, Gareth Poon, he's the teacher librarian at T. Scott in Surrey, and he also does web design. So he just did an outstanding job building our platform for SurreySchoolsOne, making it really easy for all people to access the resources that we posted there. And then the teacher librarians wrote all of the content, and we just launched it just purely out of support for our colleagues. And then it snowballed.
Right.
And then it kind of got around and more people wanted content on there. And so we continued to just vet what we felt was really high quality. And we now have activities for students around digital citizenship. We have content for parents, giving them really fun, small ideas to engage their children in educational activities at home that are really fun, and building more and more for teachers as well. We have a numeracy team that did an outstanding job building a website that you can link off of SurreySchoolsOne, as well as our Aboriginal helping teachers have a great website that you can find there. And then this past summer, we built an inquiry-based learning site, three of us teacher librarians, and so that's on there too. So we continue to curate resources and keep it fresh, and hope that it continues to stand even now as a great resource for teachers.
Yeah, it's an incredible site. I'm going to try to pull it up here so everyone can take a look. Like it's not only it's actually a beautiful website, you know, it was a Gareth?
Gareth Poon, yeah.
Oh, like this is a beautiful site, easy to use. And when I first saw it, so what we personally, my kids were at home and my kids aren't school aged, but it was chaos, right? Like they're 2 and 4 and I'm trying to work from home and they're home and it's wild. And I couldn't imagine putting on top of that as a parent, hey, you also need to sit down with your kids and they need to learn. And I know that's a huge priority, but it was like one more thing. And so then when I saw SurreySchoolsOne, I couldn't imagine how helpful that is for parents. So you have a students tab and you have a parents tab. And so it gives them a lifeline, right? It's a vetted resource from teachers. So you can feel a lot more comfortable showing your kids something that they can use. It's something that they can use that has some value. It's not just punching it into Google and who knows what you get, whoever just pays the highest ad dollars, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just think it's an incredible resource. And I think just before we hopped on, you were saying that it has been used by people, not just in Surrey.
Yeah, we've been getting feedback that, I get emails once in a while about, how did this get made? And, what was kind of the inspiration that I just shared with you? And it really came from a simple place. And I'm just really proud of the collaborative work that went into this with not only the teacher librarians that I work with, but the staff of helping teachers in Surrey that I work with, and how they've designed sets of lessons and content to really support quality instruction. And I think that will draw people from all over. And I just quickly peeked at those analytics and was very surprised to find that there's been people all over the world who've taken a peek at it and hopefully have found something useful.
Yeah, I don't doubt it for a second. Even as a publisher, when everything started in March and it was obvious that things were going to be pretty different in April, we fielded thousands of calls from teachers and parents. And we're not really set up. We don't have subscription. We don't have licenses. We don't have copyright for parents. And so that's why Scholastic decided to give things away like Bookflix and Watch and Learn, because it was just people needed it. And I think Bookflix alone, and don't quote me on this because I might be wrong, but it was hundreds of thousands to millions of hits throughout that period to the summer when people were able to use it, just because it's a good resource and people just were, the need was so huge. So yeah, something like this, SurreySchoolsOne, I just think is so impressive that you guys could put something so powerful together in such a short period of time. So kudos to you and the SurreySchoolsOne team.
It was literally hundreds of us, and yeah, I think it's something I am really very proud of. And actually, even just a neat thing that's come out of, I mean, I hope that we can see the silver lining in this whole situation in many ways, but even mentioning Bookflix, it's one that our district has now paid the subscription for because it was so widely used during that time, and we saw the value in it for students as they engage in quality text. So that was definitely a silver lining that came out of it for us.
Yeah, us too, right? That's sort of the good karma, hopefully. You know, that's when you hope that the good karma stuff you do works for everybody. So that was great. I also want to talk to you. I saw some really cool photos on your Twitter feed about sensory collections and dynamic displays. I know you had a cool story about the sensory collections from that school. So if you want to share.
If you end up following me on Twitter, I share a lot of other people's work, which is just what I love to do. And I work with so many amazing people. And Megan Cordero, she is a teacher librarian at 2 of our schools in Surrey. And she had taken on a personal professional development inquiry around a sensory collection as a response to having students in her school that weren't really engaging in the library, a particular set of students that have more intense high physical needs. And so she was working with the EAs that work with these students to try to think of ways to get these students involved in her Library Learning Commons program, to invite them and to provide something that would really be powerful for them. So she developed a sensory collection, which is books in a variety of formats that are very tactile. So she started by purchasing books that have some kind of tactile element to them. And the students were extremely excited to have something that they could connect to. And so she decided to develop that collection a little bit further and added audiobooks for students who have a variety of visual impairments. And like, she just took it to the next level. And what she found actually is that students who didn't even have the hurdles of an impairment or disability of some kind really engaged with the collection as well. And we know from educational research that what's good for one is good for all. And this was just such an awesome example of how that lived. And she recently published an article on this process that she went through in, nice. So it's if you'd like to read it, it's on part of the fall edition of the Canadian Library Association journal that just published. That was really, really cool that she just took that, little set of students and built something really powerful for all of her students.
Yeah, you think about what it would mean to those kids, right? It almost makes me weepy. It's such a, you talk about how powerful education is and educators, and that's it, right? These kids who need something extra and it just works out perfect for them, and they're fully engaged and they're included, and it's, oh man, I think it's so great. So I love it. And then I also had some pictures of some dynamic displays here. Is this the same? Is this the same educator?
No, so the pictures that I think you're referring to, these are displays that I just couldn't help but take pictures of when I visited my colleagues at Earl Marriott. So this is Stefan and, rats, I can pictures. I'll come up with his name in a second.
We'll edit it in later, no worries.
Yeah, so they've created these amazing displays that are very interactive, and they've curated artifacts to really highlight certain collections and make them really at the forefront for their students here. So yeah, I just was really excited when I went to visit them and speak to them a bit about their program and their space, that these were something they had spent time doing.
Yeah, I love it because books are art, right? Like they're useful tools, and some of them are instructional, and but at the end of the day, most of them are art, and I love that they're displayed that way.
And this
Yeah,
is Regan. I remembered his name. So Regan and Stefan, this is their work.
excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I do this traveling around Surrey all the time. I just find the greatest things in our, people are so creative. Teachers are so creative and really do want to engage their students. So,
and take so much ownership of their space. We actually had a school that burnt down in my hometown in Kamloops last year, and my friend worked at that school, and I think she had grade 2, but it wasn't a building. It was all of her, everything on her walls, everything that meant so much to her. Like she had built, that was her space.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a sad story. Obviously, she got to a new classroom. Everything turned out okay. But it showed that ownership and that love of their space, which I think is so great.
And the intentionality, right?
Yeah. And just the joy of learning. I think, some people kind of forget that education, not teachers, but I think sometimes parents or politicians or whomever, they forget that learning is fun. There's joy to it, right? It's incredible to learn new skills and be with your friends, and there's art and there's singing and there's sports and there's all kinds of things. So, I love that it is intentional when you see it with teachers quite often. I was also going to ask you, so most teachers that I know, they love being teachers, right? Like it's not just a job, it is who they are. And so I'm wondering when you knew that you were an educator.
Well, I think my family would tell you I always like to tell people what to do. But I also really love to invest in people and to bring people together into community, to create that sense of belonging and to really allow people to make quality connections with each other. And I remember as a child, I had an aunt and an uncle, both extremely high impact educators. They're both retired now. And I was, as a kid, visiting both of their classrooms. And I just remember, even as a very young kid, seeing the impact that they were having on kids my age.
Yeah.
And really thinking that was great. So when it was time in university to start thinking about a career, I had those memories and visited my aunt in Surrey. Was actually teaching in Surrey at the time. And I visited her classroom again and just saw that again, how much impact she could have on individual students, but also collectively, the way that she brought them together. And I really thought that would be something that I would love to do. So I got into the education program and went through and did a lot of volunteering in different classrooms just to see what I liked. And I landed in grade 4 or 5. And yet I was just kind of trying to hammer out my fit. I wasn't quite sure how it was going. And the teacher librarian at the school that I was working at said, I think you'd really love this job. And I have a principal friend who's looking for someone. And it was at the time when it was so hard to find work.
Yeah.
Like in those early 2000 years. And so I was like, I'll take any job.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Within weeks of being in the role as a teacher librarian, I just knew it was for me. And I started my master's, finished it in 18 months. I just loved it, and wanted to stay in the role. And it's a leadership position, I believe, in every school, because you get the chance to collaborate with your teaching colleagues and to, it's even actually a zoom out from that, bringing people together, because now you have impact school-wide, getting to bring students from all over the school into your program and to build those relationships and build community school-wide. So maybe that's why I love this unique role in our schools. And now I'm doing that at the district level. So I just keep zooming out.
No, I love it. It really is the Swiss Army knife of the school, right? Like you're involved in every facet of things that the school is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very cool job. Yeah. And I honestly don't think that there's it's up there with the most impact you can have on our society by far, right? To be able to
agree.
to influence young minds and inspire them, really. I mean, there's lots of people I've talked to that have that teacher, right? That one teacher that turned them around, or they weren't sure where they were headed, and then someone believed in them or got them excited about something, and that's all it takes. Not all it takes. That's hard, but
Start with something good.
Yeah.
I actually remember my interview for Surrey. One of the questions I was asked is teaching the most important profession in the world? Why or why not? And my answer was like, yes, no, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I just can't actually really answer this because, we need doctors and we need, there was so many careers I thought are so important, and actually all are. And, but it begins with your education. Like the capacity you need to do those jobs well begins with your education. And so I landed on yes. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, right. Yes. I would say tied for first, right? I'd say tied for first with a few others, but it's
okay. It doesn't need to be a hierarchy, but
yes, yeah. And so I'm a major book and travel fanatic, so I always ask, do you have a book to recommend to everybody, either just personally that you love, or it can be professional or for kids, or whatever you think is amazing?
Oh, that is so hard for me.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite book to read to children is Mo Willems', Watch Me Throw This Ball, or something.
Yeah.
Elephant and Piggy book. It's just so hilarious, and it's just this powerful story of like living in joy. I just love it.
He's unreal. Hey, he does so much with so little. That's what I'm always impressed with the Elephant and Piggy. It's very low text, and it's not wild and crazy illustrations, but there's so much in there.
There's so much, and it really pulls, I think, readers of all ages in.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, I could name 1,000 books. I love them, and I have to admit, I'm actually a terrible reader, in the sense that I barely ever finish books, and I read 4 or 5 books at a time. Like I kind of am a crazy reader. Just I'll pick up the book I'm in the mood for, and I'll read some pages and put it down, pick up another book, and just kind of how I roll. So it's hard for me to get through books when I read like that. But I recently picked up the Sapiens book. I had one too many friends tell me they read it and loved it. And I am just, I'm learning so much and just really blown away by the resiliency of humanity and of life. Like really enjoying it.
Sapiens is excellent. A really good companion book to that. They're not related in any way, but Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. It's very I don't know. Have you heard of that one?
Oh, I'll look it up.
So it's just very uplifting at a time when I think we need it.
Okay.
But it's that same thing that, like, progress. We are progressing. It feels like everything's falling apart, but really, when you look at longer term, you have a longer lens to human progress. It's incredible. Like, we should be doing parades every day.
Yeah.
No more smallpox. Wars are way down, and all this. It's a fantastic book. That's a good one. Sapiens.
I'll look it up. Thank you.
You bet. Last but not least, we are in a travel ban and have been. It's been difficult traveling the last for, I don't know, it feels like forever. Where would you go once this is lifted? Dream place that you've been to, or dream place that you have always wanted to go?
That's hard too.
Right.
I think maybe intrinsically, like subconsciously, the love of travel in me realized that this was going to come, because I seemed to do a ton of traveling right before. I took my kids to Disneyland. I went to Hawaii and was camping. What a dream. That was so fun to be camping in Hawaii. And went to Texas as well for work, like on a professional trip, and visited some inquiry-based learning schools. So I think I kind of hammered it all in there right before this all happened. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But Spain is always a place I've had on my list. And in particular, I've been reading a lot about the Camino Trail.
Yeah, right.
Pilgrimage that kind of occurs there. And it can be like a 45-day endeavor. I'm not quite sure I'll be up for that or have the time for that.
Yeah.
To find a way to really like live amongst the true culture in Spain in small places, but also maybe experience a bit of the pilgrimage in that trail. So that's kind of at the top of my list right now.
Yeah. Oh, drool. Yeah. yeah, any of that would sounds amazing. I think what keeps popping in my head is Eastern Europe. I love to travel, and I just have never, I haven't made it there, which is kind of funny because I've been other places, other far-flung places a few times, but just the idea of taking the train again, grabbing a backpack, hitting the train again, and just going to these old world, countries with these beautiful buildings and all this history. Yeah, I couldn't even explain why, but that's sort of high up on
You don't know.
I don't know, just everywhere. Give me anywhere.
Yeah.
But no,
sooner than later.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, anyway, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today. That was fantastic, and thank you so much for sharing what you guys have been up to in Surrey. Because that Surrey School One and everything your TLs are doing is it's just absolutely incredible. So congratulations too.
Thank you, and be in touch if you have any questions, or anyone out there watching have any questions. Love to help, and yeah, big thanks to my colleagues for just stepping up.
Yeah, Andrew's got a great Twitter feed. She does lots of visuals. So yeah, definitely follow her on. There it is, A LaPointe with an underscore at the end there. All right, thank you so much, Andrea, and we'll talk. All right, everybody, that is it for another episode of Amplifying Ideas. Remember to follow us on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Campbell Online. And thank you so much for joining.